Call to order the meeting of the Salem School Committee of July 29th, 2024 at 7 p.m. This meeting is taking place in person at 29 Highland Avenue, room 227 in Salem. You can also join via Zoom using the link in the posted agenda. The first item is approval of the agenda.
Move to approve the regular school committee agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, the matter carries. Next item on the agenda is public comment. The Salem School Committee would like to hear from the public on issues that affect the school district and are within the scope of the committee's responsibilities. Spanish interpretation is available for anyone who needs it. The members of the school committee would like to remind the public that Salem Public School students regularly attend school committee meetings. We encourage all meeting participants to model respectful and productive public discourse for our young learners. Any public comment in the room?
Hello, my name is Grant Schmeckel. I'm an instructional para at Collins Middle School and have been living and working in Salem for 4 years. In that time, I've come to love Collins and Salem Public Schools, having worked in many positions throughout the middle school. I started my para job in January of this year, partially because the building-based substitute position that I was in at the time didn't pay enough. And I knew that there was an opening on the 6th grade team and that I worked well with them. At the time, there were 2 instructional pairs in the building, but one was long-term subbing as a special ed teacher, and not long after I began, the one who was not subbing left because they were frustrated with the fact that they were not able to do the job that they signed up for and were being pulled to sub all over the building. That meant I was effectively the only instructional para in the building, and I was also pulled to substitute on a regular basis. In my 6 months as a para, I did para work for maybe 3 months, one time subbing in various positions for a month straight. When I was subbing, I would miss important meetings about the students who I was supporting and would not know that support plans had changed until way after the fact. Early on, some kids forgot that it was my job to support them. Coverage and subbing is important, but so is the work that paras do. And while we want to be team players and support our schools, we also want to feel supported by those schools. And a big way that they could support us is by paying us. I became a para because it paid more, and yet it still doesn't go as far as it needs to. I don't have a car, so if I found a higher paying job in a neighboring district, it would most likely mean that I need to move out of Salem entirely, leaving a community that I have adopted and that has given me so much. I am also in grad school, and even with financial assistance, it is hard to be able to afford the tuition so I could further my own career. Salem students deserve well-paid, well-supported paraprofessionals, and Salem paraprofessionals deserve to be able to live in the city they work in. Thank you for your time.
Further comment?
A little nervous.
Don't be nervous. Don't be nervous.
Okay, thanks. My name is Christina Dardi. I'm a parent. My son is a first grader at Carleton Elementary School, and I'm the vice president of the Carleton PTO board. I've seen some of you at Lego Club, actually, at Carleton. So our family's lived in Salem for over 20 years. We decided to mainstream my son into Salem Public Schools after preschool. The public school system in our own neighborhood was great. We wanted to be a part of the public, continue through the schools until graduation, and we were looking for a quality education. So our original plan was to continue in private school, but we wanted to be part of the community. I'm also an educator. I have experience with teaching. So I taught for 7 years at Essex Tech, before that Essex Aggie. They had a 3-year contract negotiation with a merger, which resulted in a high staff turnover. So I hope that doesn't happen here, a really long negotiation. So I had to resign due to high jobs demand versus time with my family. So initial license and master's in teaching, I know you need a lot of additional planning time to be able to complete that, your license, to earn and maintain those professional development credits. And paraprofessionals are amazing. You guys are amazing. So you support more than just educational needs. You create bonds with students. You check for understanding. I checked out the DESE profile for Salem, and the high needs is 72%. So that's very important that we have awesome paraprofessionals to support students. And so for parental leave, personally, I ended up with an extended stay in the hospital after my son was born. So I used up the paid leave, that went fast, and then the leave of unpaid absence. And it was difficult to return to teaching the next year. So difficult that we checked out the investments of time and energy, looked at the cost of living versus salary, and it was just not tenable. So it was a better choice for my family to resign and stay home. It was a sad choice that you shouldn't have to make, that no educator should, to choose between your family and the cost of living in a community. So Salem Public Schools needs to provide a quality education that keeps families and teachers in the public school system. It starts with investing in teachers and staff. So we talked about wage increase, which is super important. Teachers, staff work 2 to 3 jobs. You guys are amazing, right? But you spend so much time that it's hard to focus on students just trying to make a living. So you can't live and work in the same city, and you leave the field for better paying jobs because that's what you have to do. So more sustainable workload. Also, young educators enter the field, as I did, 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day. They're here. And they realize they can't maintain that for so many years. So teachers and staff with decades of experience also are retiring or changing careers. Extended parental leave. Families need time to adjust their new normal and feel able to return to work at the end of that leave. So results would be greater teacher retention. The district profiles from Mass DESE also looked up the teacher retention rate, and it's definitely lower than neighboring districts, as some of you have said. So in the last 5 years, 396 people have left, and the average 98% retention is not good. So that's something to definitely work on, think about. And then what happens when a teacher or paraprofessional leaves? Jenny spoke about that a little bit, which was great. And that's really important. So you face changes in the classroom, and the faces literally change in the classroom, which is tough on the kids. They get to know the teachers, the paraprofessionals, and then everything changes. So the way educators interact with students, their classroom management styles, it creates a blip in the classroom flow that disrupts learning. And it's hard to get back to that bond because the bond between the teacher and student is broken. So you have a new teacher, there's another restart. It takes time to build a new relationship and those foundations of learning. Jenny talked about how her older daughter and son, so an older sibling or friend has a great teacher. And the younger child waits and is so excited to finally get into their class, this teacher that they really were excited. Then the teacher is forced to leave because the cost of living and job sustainability is not able to continue. So keeping teachers and pairs in the classroom, wage increases to match the cost of living, sustainable workloads, extended parental leave are all so important. Investing in teachers and staff benefit all students and families. To achieve learning goals, decrease absence rates, increase quality of education, and quality of education starts with the teachers, absolutely. Thank you for your time and all that you do for the community.
Good evening. My name is O'Malley Barton. I'm a teacher at Salem High School, the treasurer of the Salem Teachers Union, and a Salem resident. I stand before you today to address 2 critical issues that are impacting our schools: the overwhelming workload placed on our educators and the lack of compensation for the work being asked. While we all share a deep commitment to providing our students with an exceptional education, the current demands on our educators are unsustainable and are negatively affecting their ability to deliver their best. Teacher workload has reached a crisis point. Beyond the traditional classroom responsibilities, educators are burdened with an increasing number of non-instructional duties, such as excessive paperwork, standardized testing preparation, and time-consuming data entry. This overwhelming workload is not only detrimental to teacher morale, but also compromises the quality of instruction our students receive. During these negotiations, the school committee has proposed further changes that would increase the workload on educators. You have proposed increasing non-teaching duties at the middle school. You've proposed using educators to substitute for other educators. You've proposed increasing the number of courses for each high school teacher. You have proposed weekly grade and progress reporting. Every one of these proposals adds to the teacher workload. When educators are overwhelmed by these additional duties, they have less time to focus on what truly matters: building relationships with students, differentiating instruction, and providing individualized support. This impacts student achievement and well-being. Adding to the problem, We are among the lowest paid educators on the North Shore, but are asked to do more and work longer than many other local districts. Our district faces challenges in attracting and retaining highly qualified educators due to insufficient compensation for the work being asked. This issue is exacerbated by the rising costs of living. By investing in our educators through competitive compensation, we are investing in the future of our students. A well-compensated and motivated teaching staff is essential to achieving academic excellence and preparing our students for success. Salem students deserve better. Salem parents deserve better. Salem educators deserve better. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jessica Tang. I am the president of AFT Massachusetts, and I come here this evening to speak to you all on behalf of the Salem Teachers Union Local, which is fighting for the schools our students deserve. And I know we're all here for the same reason. I know that we all here believe in public education. We believe that our schools should be thriving institutions where our students get the resources they need, the supports they need, the education, and that our families also feel supported too. And so I really don't have to say much more than what was already shared by the parents and educators who already testified. But what I will share is that there is a national context here too. We do have increasing teacher shortages. We do have rising inflation, which has cut away at any COLA increase that any union has been able to achieve over the last few years. We also have rising healthcare costs, which also take away from the COLA increases. We also have higher housing costs. And speaking to some of the educators here tonight, I've learned that our paras are making less than $30,000 a year, which is more than $10,000 less than the median income that you all had shared Salem has this evening in negotiations. And that's not the way that we create sustainable teaching and learning conditions. Because the other thing that I heard tonight here, loud and clear, is they want to stay. They love their students and they love their schools, but they're having to make really difficult choices between whether they can stay teaching in the schools that they love with the students and families that they know, or being able to actually raise a family if they have parental leave, which we were able to win in Boston, and I know other districts can do it too. Or being able to take care of ill family members, or being able to afford to retire. And those are the difficult choices that the educators who love your school district and love your city are having to make. And that's why they need a contract that creates the sustainable working conditions for our educators so that they can then create the sustainable teaching and learning conditions that our students need and deserve too. And we don't want to fight, but we have to fight, because what we're fighting for is not just our educators, but also for our students and families and parents. And I hope that we are able to get a contract done for Salem educators so that our students can start the year off right. And that's what we're going to do and support at AFT Mass. So thank you.
Nobody signed in tonight. I guess I will.
You really don't have to.
Do you know me? Good evening. Good evening, Mayor Pangallo, Dr. Zeig, members of our school committee. I want to take a moment to acknowledge the presence of our union leaders from AFT Massachusetts, our parents, and other Labor Council brothers and sisters who are here to show support for Salem educators this evening. They've joined us for this really critical discussion. What is an adequate wage? An adequate wage is one that allows workers to meet their basic needs, support their families, and live with dignity. It's a wage that reflects the true value of their labor and acknowledges their role in building the prosperity we all enjoy. For too long, many educators have struggled to make ends meet despite working full-time, sometimes holding down multiple jobs. This is unacceptable in a district that prides itself on fairness and equity. We proposed a wage increase for both the PSRP unit and the teacher unit that was not just a raise, but a step towards equity and sustainability. Our proposal included the following key points: a living wage standard to establish a living wage that takes into account the cost of living. This wage should cover basic needs such as housing, food, healthcare, and education, ensuring that no educator has to choose between essentials. It also included regular adjustments. To implement regular adjustments to the wage based on inflation and the cost of living changes. This ensures that wages remain fair and sufficient over time, protecting educators from economic instability. Our demands are not extravagant. They are the very foundation upon which our dignity stands. We demand fair wages not as a privilege, but as a right earned through our hard work and dedication to this district. We demand better working conditions, not as a luxury, but as a necessity to ensure our safety and well-being. We demand respect, not as a favor, but as recognition of our worth as human beings. We are not asking for charity. We don't mind working hard. We are demanding fairness. We believe that a fair wage is a fundamental right. By raising wages, we will not only improve the lives of educators and their families, but also stimulate our economy here in Salem. When workers have more money in their pockets, they spend it in their communities, supporting local businesses and creating jobs. Together, we can build a district where hard work is rewarded with a fair wage, where educators can thrive, where our students have stability and our students can thrive, and where our society reflects the values of justice and equality. Thank you.
Any further public comment? If not, I think you're getting a sign from above.
Nice. Oh, I love them. Some ink. Oh.
Sometimes those operators are weird.
My presentation. Sorry,
Take it personally.
I mean, place clears out. I have a presentation to give. You don't want to hear my presentation? I'll send it to you. I'll send.
I'm working on it for weeks.
I can see you guys again.
Do you want to do it? Or?
I could, but can I move for a 2-minute recess?
Motion for a recess. Next item on the agenda is approval of the consent agenda. One item we don't have on the consent agenda ready for a vote is the school committee meeting minutes of the meeting of June 17th, 2024. So is there a motion to approve items B and C? This is the warrants of July 10th, July 17th, and July 18th, and the Carleton overnight trip to the farm school.
I'd first move to remove item A from the agenda and place it on the table from the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, matter carries.
Motion to approve the consent agendas, items B and C.
Second.
Under discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? The matter carries. Item 5, Superintendent's Report.
All right, good evening, everybody. I just want to start, first of all, I hope everybody's having a wonderful summer. I lost my audience here, but thank you for those of you that have stayed. I do want to just take a moment to introduce Shirley Dardi. Did I say that right, Shirley? Who is our new executive assistant for the school committee and to the superintendent. Today was Shirley's first day. What a way to start today. Have a school committee meeting and contract negotiations. But we're really excited to have Shirley. She comes with a ton of experience in public education, most recently in the Malden Public Schools, where she did a similar role. And so we're very fortunate to have her expertise and her background working with us. And we were very lucky that she wanted to join the Salem Public Schools. So welcome to Mr. Rai. And I know the school committee members knew that she was coming, but this is the formal introduction. Now you know that Shirley will be working closely with both me and all of you moving forward. So welcome, Shirley, to Salem Public Schools. And, you know, our meetings are never, you know, we don't, this is...
They're always like this.
They're always like this, Shirley. So, so welcome. So with that, I'm very excited about our first presentation tonight. We've been wanting to do this for a while. As many of you know, we took we had a educator trip to the Dominican Republic earlier this year, and it was I honestly was blown away by the experience. It was a life-changing experience. More as an educator, learning about where our students come from, our families, the education system that informs the experience of many of our students and their parents. We wanted to give you a sense of what that trip was like. There were a few brave souls that committed to taking the leap and going on a trip that we had never designed before, and many of them are here with us tonight. Thankfully, you won't be hearing as much from me, but from Laura. Laura Saad's going to lead the presentation. But we had a spectacular experience, and we hope that this can be something we build on and grow in the Salem Public Schools because. You know, I don't want to speak for everyone, but I know for me, it definitely changed my perspective. And we got to see things that I never expected that we would be able to have access to. And so I'm going to turn it over to Laura, I think, right? Who's going to walk us through, and you all have a copy of the presentation in your packet, in the updated packet. We sent it I think yesterday I sent you the presentation. So I'm going to turn it over to Laura. And I want to just start by thanking, this never would have happened without Laura. And she put in tremendous amount of extra time beyond her day job to make this happen because there was nothing. There was no infrastructure. There was no history of doing this. And because of Laura's leadership, we were able to have what I think is a very successful trip that we can build on for many years to come. Laura.
Thank you. And I would also add that Clara, who is also online, she is zooming in from the Dominican Republic, who was our guide. She and I worked really closely together in making sure that this was a trip that all of us remembered. And hopefully we can get more educators to join us if we were to do this again. So we hope that you enjoy the presentation and ask us any questions along the way.
We should introduce Clara because she's a very we found out that she was very famous on the island.
She is
very distinguished, and we got her name through Manny Cruz's contacts, and we could not have been in better hands than Clara. So Clara, ¿qué tal? I don't know if she's there.
Are we able to get on?
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
So Clara, as I mentioned, she's on Zoom with us. There she is. Hi, Clara. ¿Cómo está? So Clara is also an educator. She was an educator at the university level and also in different levels in the Dominican Republic for many, many years. She is now retired, but still very well connected within the Dominican Republic. She helped us to connect with a lot of the leaders within each of the schools and also really high-ranking educators and leaderships within the island. Within the presentation, you'll also see who we were able to visit, and that's through the connections of Clara. But before I go on, I also want to introduce, some of you, if not all of you, may know, who also attended with us, with the exception of one person who is not here. But we have Arabelis Luciano, who is our family engagement facilitator for Carleton. We have Angela McAvini, who is a preschool teacher at Horace Mann. And we have Sarah Campbell, who is an amazing math teacher at Salem High. And so it was myself and then another educator who works with our Parent-Child Plus population of students. And that was Evelyn Marin, who also attended for a portion of the trip as well. So we were excited that there were at least 6 brave souls that attended, and we really did have a great time. So if I could have the presentation up just to show everyone. Thank you. So as a reference to our strategic plan, we wanted to make sure that, for priority 1, we wanted to be able to have an opportunity for our educators to have a better understanding of what our students are learning, and as they enroll in the district. A lot of our kids are coming with different experiences and different levels of knowledge. We have students that are coming in with different levels of understanding of some of our materials, and often we want to make sure that as they enroll with us, that we are doing proper placement based on what they know, regardless of where they come from. So Dominican Republic is just one example of our students that we are receiving. It is the majority of the population that we're receiving, but we have kids that are coming in from all over the world. And we want to be able to create systems that support the continued learning of that student. And if they do need additional support, that they can, that we can actually catch them up to the level that they need to be or beyond that. And then also while they're here, for us to have the opportunity to introduce them to a lot of the other programs and higher education opportunities that are available to them. So we also want to utilize programs and platforms to engage with student learning, and a lot of what you'll see is some of the findings of the curriculum that we were able to access while we were there, and some of the things that we've been able to use already and share with a lot of our educators within the district on how they can engage with students regardless of the language that they speak. Under priority 2, we wanted to think about the cultural aspect of it. And really exposing our educators not only to the structures and systems of the Dominican Republic, but also helping educators understand the Dominican culture. Sometimes it's really hard to be able to, it goes beyond the language, right? So when we have families that are coming in for parent-teacher conferences, and you've got multiple family members and people being really excited just to kind of be welcomed into a building and know what their kids are learning, that's where that culture comes from. And those are things that unfortunately is not always taught, but often more of an experience. So by us going there and seeing that, we were able to see, and everybody will be able to share some of the things that they saw, but we were able to see many aspects of what it means to have a student be supported by so many other people outside of those that are in the classroom. So it could be local community leaders, their families that are in the schools and beyond. And under priority 3, just center and belong, is just an opportunity for us to create a better understanding between students and educators, and for greater community building. So as I mentioned, these are some of our folks that attended the trip, and the one person that is not here today, but had a wonderful experience as well. She's an early learning specialist, Evelyn Marin, with Parent-Child Plus program. I'm going to stop here and provide an opportunity for Clara to share a little bit of her experience and what enlightened her in wanting her to create this itinerary for us. Clara, could you speak to your experience on why you wanted us to go and visit some of these places that are in this itinerary, and also just your thoughts on what you wanted us to be able to see?
Of course, I will try to do it in my Committe English, and if in some moment I think I need to switch to Spanish, I will do it. First of all, we want to offer a program in which we have the official part of the school system just to visit and for you to be in touch with. And also, we want to show you some aspects of our culture. That's why you have the opportunity to visit Dominican Men Museum and some other places. And of course, visiting Salcedo and the scientific high school and being experiencing different type of high schools, different type of schools, teachers. I think that's very interesting just to learn, to know the background of those kids that you are receiving down there. The school system here in DR is structured. The students are allowed to choose subjects and to make changes in their schedules or in their programs. Programs are administered by the Ministry of Education and is the same for everybody, everywhere in DR. And besides that, the Ministry of Education takes care that all the students follow the same rules, even though they are in a tiny school in the countryside or in a bigger school just in the city or in the inner part of the city. So we try to give as much as we can in 1 week, because having a very rich program must take at least 2 weeks to have just an academic part of the program about history and culture, and also the exposure to the different environments. But for your group, it was great that you have the opportunity to visit Bani, and in Bani, you were in touch with teachers from primary school to teachers of high school and to teachers of the university. So you have the whole look of education in the art. So learning about the system, learning about the structure of education, learning about the type of materials they are in touch with will be very helpful for you in the States to understand where these kids come from and for real what background they have. And being in touch of those different cultural aspects will be very rich also to understand the way they behave. I hope not only the group that we receive on April will have the opportunity to enrich their background, but also I hope some other teachers and officials have the opportunity to be in touch with a program like this. As I explained to the group, I've been working in the past years with different communities from the United States. Like I was working in touch with Lawrence school system, and also I was working with New York school system, trying to provide them this type of experiences. So thank you, and I hope that you understand me clearly. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Clara. We understood you very clearly. Appreciate it. As you can all see in the itinerary, there was a little bit of everything that we were able to squeeze into 1 week. There was a mix of different things that we did. And while we didn't follow it 100%, mostly because we had to make adjustments due to weather, we were planning on going to different areas that were very mountainous and that the roads were not the same as if they would be in the city. So due to weather conditions and other things, we had to switch some things around. But these are the experiences that our young people are going and experiencing before they come here. So when we think about like attendance and when we think about like some of the other challenges that our kids are coming with, this is the experience that they're coming with and thinking that something similar would happen here. So those are things that we all keep in mind when it comes to the experiences of our students. But we also got to experience things like going to museums, going to like the national malls, going to see the city, going to see some of the countryside and other places that even as someone that's from there have never seen as a kid. And to be able to go back even almost up the street to where I grew up was also an experience. And to be able to share that with Clara and my other colleagues and our amazing bus driver, Julio, it was definitely something to see again as an adult and an adult in education. So that was the itinerary. Just as an example of some of the school leaders that we were able to visit, Clara was able to connect us to the Dean of Faculty and Education, Doctora Juana Encarnacion, Doctora Luz Dirosier. She's the director of the one of the university. It's called La UAS, so it's UASD. Universidad Autónoma de Santo Domingo, and that's particularly in Bani. We have some photos of that visit. We were able to visit the Ministry of Education, so that's sort of the equivalent of our Department of Education in the Dominican Republic. That just goes to show how well connected Clara is and being an educator for so many years in various levels. And then some districts that we went to visit, the Bani School District, Escuela Canadá, which is an elementary school, La República de Honduras Elementary School, a technical high school, actually a few technical high schools, Liceo Científico, and Liceo Paraguay High School. So those are all photos that we'll be able to show, and my colleagues will be able to share a little bit about what they saw to share with all of you. This is on our second day on the island. This is Señor Ángel Hernández Castillo. He is the Minister of Education. So he is the head of all things education on the island and was very instrumental and very resourceful for us, provided us with some books that we were able to bring back to our district to show at the different levels of what our students are learning and coming with, and some of the things that we could use and tools that we can use not only online, but with the books that they provided to us so that we can do some basic assessment and understand and knowledge, have some understanding of their knowledge as they enroll into our school. So we've been able to provide that to some of our educators when they are receiving new students in their classrooms, if they are coming directly from the Dominican Republic. Dr. Zreik has also shared the online tool with all of our members of our district that is free and accessible and to anyone in the world for young people who are actually for educators who are receiving young people from the Dominican Republic, that regardless of their grade level, you can access whether it's math or ELA or something equivalent, so that if there needs to be an assessment done, that we can access that. And also to know, depending on the grade, what level of education they are at once we receive them here. So we did discuss the curriculum, special education services, which is a lot different from what we have here, and higher education opportunities. Because we visited so many different schools, there were opportunities for students to be in what we know here as some of our technical high schools, but with a particular focus on different subjects. So if you wanted to be a teacher, you can start a high school program to be a teacher, and you will be on that track. And then that same high school is under La UAS, La Universidad Autónoma, which allows for students to continue that track with teaching in the Dominican Republic. So there are different pathways that are created for students through those opportunities. And Angel Hernandez Castillos was able to inform us of what that looks like and who we can connect with to be able to know what opportunities are available for our young people. So I want to stop there and turn it over to Angela to come and speak on her experience. Come on up.
That is not a picture of us on the boat. I mean, on
Did not go on the boat.
Stock photo, okay.
Yeah, that's probably that for next year's trip, right?
Yeah, I see Steve in the back.
Yeah.
Angela McVinney, I chose this. The world is the true classroom. The most rewarding and important type of learning is through experiencing something with your own eyes. You can switch. Another quote, I'm not the same having seen the moon shine on the other side of the world. I love this experience. It was definitely well worth it and eye-opening. It was a great way to experience the country, experience the culture, the delicious food, and the crazy driving, which I'm glad we didn't have to do. I really enjoyed the school visits. It was very educational. It was interesting to learn that they don't base their education system on age, that they do it by ability. So someone in a fourth grade classroom could be, say, 11 to 14. And it was nice to talk to some of the teachers and hear what their strengths and lived struggles. I enjoyed seeing all the schools, the technical schools, the STEAM school, that students were making blueprints, they were making their own models. And I mean, it was, you can do the next one more slide. The best education you will ever get is traveling. Nothing teaches you more than exploring the world and accumulating experiences. For me, I was the only one that did not know how to speak Spanish. I know very little, so it was very, I guess, eye-opening to see it from my side of not knowing and having to rely on my my colleagues to help translate. So that's it.
This is Sarah.
It is really difficult to sum up all that I absorbed in that week into a 2-minute summary. So I'm just going to say some of the things that struck me. That second picture of there with the arch and the mountains is one of many pictures that I tried to capture of the countryside and just how beautiful it is, and how, while I was looking at it, I had students, specific students in mind and their faces, and thought, this was what they experienced. This is where they come from. And the connection that I could make to the difference that they are experiencing now. I'm getting a little teary, which is not usually like me. It was big. And then can I move to this? Yeah, so this is the Liceo Científico, the technical high school that several people have been talking about. I took pictures of the students as they were doing work, and they were collaborating together and working in teams, which I thought was wonderful. And then there's these 3D models that the students were constructing, and this is like the third or fourth stage. They designed these from blueprints, and they had a whole concept. A person was considered like a famous person. They designed a house for that person, and it was remarkable. And I would love to see us do more of that type of thing. But yeah, the breadth of the types of schooling experiences was remarkable. So I think that's all I've got.
So I'll just summarize this. I wrote my experiences. Gracias. Oh, that's all right. So I am the daughter of a mother who's from Dominican Republic. I've been going to Dominican Republic since I was 9 months old. This was definitely a different experience of what I usually experience. I've been going to DR every 2 years to see family and visit friends and, you know, obviously visit the beaches and the food. But I really wanted to see is like their school systems and see, you know, what they experience there. I once visited a school when I was there, when I was little, but still can't remember. So when I went, one of the schools had actually, in one of the schools I was actually able to speak with a parent who was actually there. She actually got a phone call from the teacher that her child was having difficulties in their behavior. She showed up in the middle of the class, spoke to him, and said that she hopes to not get another phone call. And he knew he had to switch his day around, and that's what she expected. And she also told me that they have a lot of communication with the teachers throughout the day, and that, you know, the things like this, situations like this, this is what they want to know. They also have meetings, monthly meetings, just like our PTOs, to discuss how they can also help out the schools. Actually, and what the teacher did is actually something that I kind of do with my families, especially Spanish-speaking families. I call them. I even put them on speakerphone, have them talk to their student, and it's about having that open communication with them. That way, also, you don't get like those surprises of when something gets too big for them. This was an amazing experience for me, totally different. I was even what I really liked too was able to see some of the history of my culture that I've never seen, some of the museums I've never been to. So that was definitely, I was in awe, still in awe. One of the bigger things that definitely stood out for me was during the pandemic, they didn't stop teaching. They actually continued in person, but also if some needed to be at home, they had different platforms. They had it on the radio, on the TV station, in paper and in person. So that, to be able to make sure that all have access to it. So that was like a big thing for me in terms of that. But yeah, I'm hoping to experience it next year too and learn more. So thanks. Yes. So these are my favorite pictures. We have a group of students, they're all in uniforms. And nobody really complains about it. Even the teachers are in uniform. My favorite is the bottom one, actually the top one, of the little boy in the little corner on the side taking a nap because it was so hot that the ground is actually cooler. So, and one little boy, at the bottom, he's like, I'm working on this, but it's too hot. So, but they still, even though it was still too hot, the teachers had their attention, and the teachers down on the ground with them. And that's what it's about too. And the bottom right is a bulletin board that I'm hoping to emulate at Carleton. And it talks about there's, a word for the month of April, April, amor, love, and what each day of the month represents, what it is, be it, day of kindness or, one of their national holidays that they celebrate there. So, yeah, I'm still loving the boy on the left there.
So before I show the quick video, I want to share that for all of us, it was something that we did not expect. I mean, the way that Clara kind of scheduled planned the itinerary, we did not know that we would have the opportunity to see the places and spaces that we actually went into. Some of the things that you'll see are things beyond, like way beyond the classroom, that like our young people kind of go to on a day-to-day basis. And these are like natural water pools, other national parks that are in people's backyard. Some of the photos that you saw already, and especially one of the ones that Sarah shared, these are experiences that we had for like a brief moment that our students are experiencing every day. So when we think about like that culture shift, when our young people come here, oftentimes, and I'm speaking from my own experience too, it's like we come into like an American school district and it's very go, 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 but not thinking of like, I came in March, it's very cold, right? There's not enough layers that I can put on to keep me as warm as I was back home, right? There is fresh food. You can pick mangoes anywhere that you walk to. So even if you're on the way to the bus, you won't go hungry because a neighbor or someone would give you something for the way home. That doesn't happen here, right? You have an opportunity to talk to people. People are always looking out for you. That doesn't always happen here. So when we think about some of the, for some of our kids, it's a traumatic experience, and also like a very, very big shock to transition to a different culture, the culture of the United States, and then coming into a school district, regardless, and this goes beyond Salem, where they are coming in and not knowing a language and then having to adapt, but then coming with so many of the different skills because they've gone to like a technical scientific high school where they're making 3D models and doing different STEAM work. I mean, at the scientific high school that we went to, we did a full tour of the campus, and we were blown away that they were creating a salmon lake or pond in the back because they were studying the different bacteria based on the different vegetation that was growing, right? So like for a student with that level of knowledge to come to us, like how are we embracing that and elevating some of that learning for our young people? Are we doing that? Could we do that? Those are all questions that we wondered like while we were out there, right? And how do we continue to ensure that our young people are still being challenged in the way that they have been over there, because the expectations for getting into a lot of these schools are very, very high, and we should be able to have the same expectations for them here. So please enjoy this short video, and we are here if you have any questions after. Thank you. And it's not a fancy music video, so just bear with the silence for a minute and enjoy the photos.
You see.
I'm not that fancy.
It's not Steve doing carpool karaoke. Is
I don't.
Nope, and I did not put the video of me dancing with the guy at the store.
Yeah, that.
I didn't add that on there.
Laura?
There is a video. You can share that after. These were photos, some of them from the museum, just learning about the indigenous culture of the island. Some of the families, some of the educators that are there. some of the educators that you see at that particular school, some of the educators have adult children that live here whose grandkids go to Salem Public Schools. So there's a direct connection to Bani, and one of the reasons why we visited some of those schools. That was in Salcedo when we visited the Museum of Las Hermanas Mirabales, which is a story of 3 women who were murdered due to under Trujillo's dictatorship for wanting equal rights for all people. And there's a movie, a book, many books and stories, and that's Dominican culture. That was us at the mall. So because the grandparents of some of our young people knew that we were going, they made us a special meal, like plantains that they grow in the back of the school, and the students like process them, and mango trees all around us. This was the scientific high school. You can't not be around water. That photo was of students making cheese and other dairy products in the lab. These are high school students, by the way, not college level students.
Yeah, it was a tough. Tough.
That's also at the scientific high school.
No, we had a strict schedule. I mean, it was no.
Some photos of some local streets. Mangoes again. That's Steve eating mofongo. That is the lunchroom at the scientific high school for our students. What I found interesting was that they have to bring their own bowls and utensils. They get served, and then they are required to wash it after they're done. So that's a sancochito. So like a beef stew, small portion. And that's one of the technical high schools that are one of the branches of the university. It's one of the building leaders, school principals. This is at the Botanical Garden. And is it the mayor or the governor of Bani?
Governor.
The governor of Bani found out that we were coming, and she greeted us with 2 baskets of mangoes and some gifts as well. She came to visit.
She reschedules her stuff for them.
Mm-hmm. This was a pre-K classroom or a kindergarten? This is either 1st or 2nd grade. And this was at the one of the newest branches of La UAS in Bani. So Universidad Autónoma has different, it's like the UMass system. So the UMass Boston, the Amherst, it's very similar to that. This is one of the newest buildings in Bani, and you'll see some of the lab. We went there, and they think they were open for 2 weeks, Steve, was it? Mm-hmm. Either 2 to 3 weeks. Of course, we stopped for the goats, fed them bread. Goats and iguanas mingling outside. is another location in the salt dunes of, this was not Bani. I can't remember. In Salcedo? Salcedo. So a lot of the salt from around the entire island comes from this location. And this was also where Vin Diesel filmed a movie, we found out. So it's another place on the countryside when we went to San Jose de Ocoa. Just some artwork. And this is the university's facilities that we were able to see just being open for 2 weeks. This was an amazing pastry shop that we visited alongside some of the parts of the museum for the Hermanas Mirabales when we went to Salcedo. And that's our presentation. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you. So, any questions from the committee? Yeah, Member Miranda.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask, so, and maybe it's different for the different schools, but in terms of the school day length, what was that like?
So I'll speak to that, and then I'll also ask Clara to help me because we didn't get to talk too much about that. What we understood was that there were 2 different schedules. There was a morning and an afternoon, and then there was an extended day. So there were students that were attending like a 7 to 12 type of schedule, and then another like a 1 to 5 or 6 kind of schedule. The extended day went from 8 a.m. To maybe 2, 3 o'clock. So depending on the need of the school and the student, a family can choose, or the school itself and the family can decide what programming the student can receive. Clara, can you share a little bit more of what that looks like in other places or in some of the other schools?
You say it correctly. The regular school is just from 7:30 to 12:30 p.m. And the standard school is from 8 to 4 p.m. That will depend. Why is that? Because in different places you will need to have classes for different populations. Let's say that you are in a neighborhood in which you have a big amount of children going to school. You have to send some of the children during the mornings and some of them during the afternoon. So that's one reason. But extended schools pretends to develop a more complex curriculum in which they add some language classes, art classes, and so forth. So the standard schools try to teach a more complex curriculum, and just regular classes are just the basic classes in the school.
Awesome. Thank you.
Other questions? Bruce.
Desde lo primero quiero darle las gracias a Clara por su gran esfuerzo y por ser tan amable. Yo soy el único miembro del comité escolar que eres dominicano, so me da tanto orgullo que saber que tú estabas ayudando a nuestros maestros. So I was just giving the thanks to Clara for being such a gracious host, and I just feel incredibly proud that our educators were able to make this trip, and that they had such I think a really knowledgeable guide during their time there. And clearly you all learned a tremendous amount, and I'm thrilled to hear that there's interest in doing this again, and I hope more folks will take advantage of this professional learning opportunity. I think one of the things that I'm really curious about is learning, Clara, maybe from your perspective, here in Massachusetts, where we have our kids in school 180 days out of the year. Just wondering if you could speak to how long the school year is in the Dominican Republic. And then the second piece, I know that for my cousins who live in the Dominican Republic, some of them had different opportunities to learn multiple languages. Could you just speak to how perhaps you all might structure a multilingual education?
Okay. Here we have different opportunities within the public system. Since 2021, we try to improve our programs in the public school system. That's why we have more extended schools nowadays. We teach from August to June every year. And we have Christmas vacation and Easter vacation. So students spend like 9 months at school. As an example, classes are going to start here in DR after the 20th of August. And they will keep working until December. We will stop in December for 2 weeks, and then we will return early in January, and we keep working through June. So, working in the standard classes give not only the students the opportunity to learn languages, but also to learn basis of computer science, basis of, as I explained, arts, crafts, and so forth. Not all the kids have those opportunities, because the standard schools are not all over the country. We have standard schools here in the capital and in the big cities like Santiago, La Romana, but let's say that in the southwest of the country, we don't have those opportunities. We hope we have the opportunity to see more and more improvement in the next future, but all of those improvement depends on the government policies about education and the budget. I don't know if I answered your question.
You did. Muchísimas gracias.
Any other questions from committee members? Oh.
Can I just, thank you to all of you for being here tonight and sharing. I just would echo everything that you all said about your experiences. I think two things, sort of implications moving forward that I would just want to point out, and this is something for the committee to be thinking about, is one, we'd like to bring more teachers and staff, not just teachers, but staff from the Salem Public Schools to the DR. Funding is a challenge, and we subsidize some, and we want to thank the Salem Education Foundation, who paid for some of the experience, and then the district chipped in a little bit, but everybody paid on their own as well. And so, as you all and you talk to folks around the community, I do think we're going to be looking for investment to help subsidize the cost. I think everybody should have a stake, but we want to be able to. It's expensive for people to be able to do that, and while it's not that expensive once you get there, the flight is expensive. So I just want to think about, if you know philanthropy that might be interested in investing in this, that's something we want to look towards. The second thing is, I think we, and Manny and I have talked about this a little bit, is we want to figure out a way to bring some teachers from the DR to work here in Salem. We are looking for bilingual educators, and while we have some from Spain, culturally there's differences there. Bentley, there just aren't enough qualified bilingual educators who can teach in our dual language programs, but it's also just important for us to have bilingual staff throughout the district. And Clara, who and I talked a little bit about she could help us, recruit folks who might want to come on for, a set amount of time where we may have some openings, particularly in bilingual teaching positions. We have to work with the Department of Education. Manny and I just had a conversation with the superintendent in Framingham about how they've done that with teachers from Brazil, because they have a lot of Brazilian students in Framingham. And for us, again, we in our families and our kids, having Dominican teachers it would be significant. It's not the same to say they speak Spanish and they're from Colombia than it is being Dominican and working with our children and families. And as Laura said, it was remarkable to me how many people we met who knew Salem and who knew Lawrence and who knew Massachusetts, because there's obviously huge connections. And obviously many of our families, when I've talked to kids and I have my Dominican flag pin, they are quick to say, "Oh, are you Dominican?" And I said, "Well, no, I'm not, but I just went there." And when you tell them that you went to Bani, many of our families and our kids have roots in the city of Bani where we went. So to be able to recruit educators to come work with us, even if it's for a set amount of time, is something that I think we should all be thinking about how we can do moving forward. And Clara has pledged her support to help us make some of those inroads. So those are just the two things I want to share of implications moving forward for us as a district. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Benny. I know you're in your role.
Yeah, happy to speak to that. I think one of the things that I'd welcome folks getting more involved in is, I think, some of the advocacy that's going to be necessary for some reciprocity agreements with the state around this particular issue. And then there is going to be, I think, a need for us to have some strategic conversations about our multilingual programs here in the city and what we want them to look like. I can just preview for folks. I did a visit to the Framingham Public Schools, to both of their dual language schools, and in particular, they had set up actually an office around recruitment that was aimed at helping folks that were coming from Brazil to get their visas and to be able to teach for a set period of time. Some of those folks have since gotten different status, and they're staying in Framingham, which is a net benefit for their programs and the sustainability of being able to offer to their students, both educators that are bilingual but also bicultural, which is incredible. So I would just say to members of the committee that as we think about the future of multilingual education within the district, that this is a creative opportunity for us. I think now that we've made some inroads, to think about both professional development, recruitment. And then certainly, I heard today just from some of the educators, the curricular pieces. How do we think about what we can learn from where our students are coming from, and really kind of dive into that with a larger group of educators. We're accustomed, I think, to going first here in Salem. And as I think about programs like the pilot that we're offering here in the middle school, I just think that there's a lot of unique opportunities to be able to get educators from both of our countries working together. And so, those are the thoughts that I would offer. It's exciting, again, to see this cadre of educators that have already taken the first leap, but would certainly welcome, I think, future conversations as a committee about, our multilingual education offerings here in the district and how we can really think about broadening the partnership, because I think we can go in a multitude of different ways.
All right. Thank you all very much. Looks like it was a fantastic
Thank you.
Next item.
Yeah, so the mayor and I just talked off. I think I'm going to delay the presentation of the state of the schools because we're missing 2 school committee members here, and I do think it's important that everybody be here for that, and we should have also some additional updated data to share. So at the next meeting, we'll do that presentation, if that's okay with the rest of the committee, because I do think everybody should hear the progress of where we are with the strategic plan. Yep. But I'll defer to the committee if I know there's other items that you want to discuss.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I'll also add, I think there was interest from the city council having you come back at some point and provide an update, a similar update. So
I'd like to give it first to the school committee.
I agree,
because they're my people more than the city council.
So our next school committee meeting is August 19th.
Yes,
is that right?
that's correct.
Okay, so we'll plan for that. An update on the high school building project.
Yeah, I'm happy to let the committee know that we have passed another milestone in our school building project. We have selected an owner's project manager that will help steward this project from now until the end. In the spring, early spring, we created a OPM, Owner's Project Manager Selection Committee, from among the building committee. We released an RFP out into the community, and we did a site visit with 19 firms that expressed interest. 10 actually applied, and we created a short list of 4 firms, which we then, the subcommittee, held hour-long interviews. They made a presentation, the committee asked rigorous questions, and from that, the committee selected a group called Answer, based on a robust community engagement plan, as well as significant experience leading MSBA projects, including grade reconfiguration, buildings that do grade reconfiguration. So our building committee and the OPM subcommittee successfully completed all the steps along the MSBA timeline. We went to the MSBA review panel meeting to ask for approval of our selection, and Answer was approved by the MSBA as our OPM. They've actually already attended a building committee meeting in June when they introduced themselves to the broader committee and laid out some timelines. So the next thing that they will help us with is the selection of a designer. So there is a designer subcommittee, and we will be soliciting and interviewing candidates for designers. We should have one on board by the end of October. And once we have the OPM, which now we have, and the designer, we will be able to formally launch our feasibility study, which will result in a consensus about the type of building we are building, either a 9 through 12, a 7 through 12. So they will lead us through that process. So selecting the owner's project manager to help steward this and lead us through it was a big step forward, and I'm pleased to say we have done so successfully.
Thanks. Cruz.
This is a wonderful update. Long time coming. Really excited that we're moving forward with someone. I just had a question regarding the MSBA process and for interviewing some of these folks. Did the MSBA provide just any guidance on supplier diversity? And just wondering if there were any, if you're aware of any of the firms, if any of them were like minority owned, women owned businesses.
I do not have that information, but because that is a priority for us to make sure we are drawing from a diverse pool, I'm almost certain that I can get that for you, but I'll have to follow up with that information.
Anything further?
And I would can I just point out the next meeting is August 15th of the Salem School Building Committee. And we're going to keep our regular one. We took a hiatus in July, but we'll be back in August. Those are open to the public. Anybody's welcome to attend. School committee members are welcome to attend in the audience. Beth Ann Cornell is the representative of the school committee on the, from the school committee on the school building committee. And the mayor is part of that as well. Mayor, thank you.
Yep.
I've been sort of mulling bringing this up or not, and since you just sort of mentioned it, my understanding is the representative from the school committee on the building committee would be giving periodic reports to the school committee. We haven't had one yet, and I'm just thinking I'd really like to get, now that things are sort of moving along, get that on some type of a schedule, maybe every other meeting, or I don't know, even just once a month. But I know that in the multiple projects in the past, the school committee person always just, gave updates to the committee, sometimes very brief, sometimes involved, sometimes brought the architect or whatever to give presentations. But I'd like to get it like on the agenda somehow, that it's a regular thing.
Maybe we can add it under subcommittee reports. Since Member Cornell's not here, I'm happy to volunteer that she will be doing that update on a regular basis.
I think
I mean, the mayor did ask us to put this on the agenda
we can
today.
We can make it a more regular thing, especially as we get into the designer selection process.
Yep.
Thank you. that for your
Oh, I'm
report?
sorry. Yes, that does conclude my report. And like I said, we'll come back to the state of the schools at the next meeting. Thank you.
Student representative report. Old business. None. New business. None. Finance and operations report.
I have none.
Amazing. Subcommittee reports. Any subcommittee chair updates? Member Cruz?
I have just a brief report. Today we did have our 9th negotiating session with our partners in the STU and PSRP. Obviously, today in public comment we heard from educators once again regarding the desire for those competitive wages. I would just recap for members of the committee that I think what I had raised up in the executive session, that we'd come back with periodic updates. So members of the committee were briefed already on what was proposed today. And what I would just note is that there will be further communications from the district on that front out to the larger and broader community. And I would just note that the tenor of the conversation with our partners has been one that I think is really collaborative, and I want to continue to emphasize that. I think it's been really positive dialogue around the state of the contract negotiations. And today, I'll just note that we did get through a big list of committee responses to some of the proposals. So I would just ask that the superintendent share that with the non-personnel subcommittee members, just so that they have an opportunity to just have it for informational purposes. And my commitment is to just set up another executive session sometime next month, just to continue to brief folks on the state of kind of the negotiations as well for members of the committee. The only other piece that I would just raise is I think during today's session, we presented a lot of information in a presentation, and I think we do intend to just make, for the spirit of, I think, transparency, collaboration. The STU was, I think, super helpful in providing us some insights into their methodology. So not only do we plan on sharing the presentation that took place today, but also just giving some insights into the actual calculations, because there is many layers of complexity. And so what I would just preview for members of the public that might be tuning in, and just given the subject matter is of interest, is that the committee, I think following the release of all this information over the next 3 years, our charge will be to continue to have strategic conversations regarding our stewardship of the district's resources and ensuring that we can offer a competitive wage scale to our educators who are serving our children. So that's my brief kind of update. And again, just want to thank members of the personnel subcommittee who have been here today with me in the building for almost a full school day here. So and thank you all for your efforts. And in particular, I just want to thank the Assistant Superintendent, Elizabeth Polly, who has been, I think, on and on for hours making updates based on member requests. And it's no small feat what you were able to put together for us today. And I just wanted to recognize your work. So thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you. That's it for me.
Other subcommittees?
I'm reporting out for policy. We have 2 policies with no substantial changes, and they were so unsubstantial that I have no idea what these policy numbers refer to. But policy 2201 and policy 2203. It's somewhere in the administrative areas of the manual, I know. So those 2 are on with no changes. We're just noting them. Then there are 2 others that we're looking for a first reading. Policy 2202, which is has to do with legal counsel, and the change really is small, but probably of consequence. And the sentence reads that the legal counsel may represent the school committee in personnel negotiations, and the changes that it formerly read in teacher negotiations. So it expands the realm, I guess, there. So that would be one, and I'm looking for a motion. Oh no, you say that, don't you? Say that. We want to.
I'll take these together.
I can, yeah.
What was
Okay.
the other?
And so the second one is again in the administration section. It's about school improvement plans, and basically it's a pretty. It's number 2500. If anybody's checking. And it's about the principals in consultation with school councils adopting educational goals. And goes in the past, it went into a quite detailed list of the responsibilities and what the plan would include. And it does still, we revised it so that it is still a pretty detailed list, but we've updated it. This, I think probably was put in back under ed reform, so it's been a while. So it's a new listing of the information, and then the relationship to school committee. It says each school council's school improvement plan is to be submitted to the school committee for review and approval. So looking for both of those to have a first reading.
I'd move for an omnibus motion to approve school committee policies 2202 and 2500 for approval for first reading.
Just a second.
I'll second.
Under discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of first reading? Any opposed? Matter carries. Thank you. Any other subcommittee updates? Building and grounds? Okay. School committee concerns and resolutions? Seeing none. Last item.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Under discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed? The matter carries. We are adjourned. Thank you.